Hey there, welcome to the second episode of The Bogey Golfer. My name is Jonah. I'm going to take you through an Optishot review and overview today. Alright, Bogey Golfers, before we even talk about the Optishot 2, you need to take a look at your space, so the environment that you will be putting the simulator in. Now, you can have a smaller space and still be fine. My space is not the biggest space in the world. It's pretty open, but it works perfectly. So it just depends on what you want out of the simulator. If you want to be able to hit a real ball, you need a big enough space. If you don't care about hitting a real ball, your space can be a little bit smaller. So take a look at your space before you purchase any type of simulator, whether it be the Optishot or not, and decide if that space is right for a simulator. This is my golf space. Okay, I have approximately 13 feet wide, and then up until the actual simulator is about 9 feet. So if you go a little further back, you could probably make it 10. Now I have this beam in the way where I put the projector. If you go any further than 10, you're probably going to hit that with a club. And the height of my ceiling is 9 feet. So 9 feet high allows you to play the Optishot just fine. I'm 6 feet tall, so if that gives you any information at all for how far your swing is going to go up, this works for about a 7-iron to sand wedge. Okay, I don't hit anything more than that because your system is actually a little bit off the ground too, so you got to minus that distance as well. But this is my space, so basically you need that width. If you want to have a left-handed and a right-handed person, you're probably going to need a little bit wider than 13 feet. If you're only worried about one person, 13 feet is fine. You could probably get away with about 10 feet as well with width. When you purchase your Optishot 2, you're going to get a few things in the box. First thing you're going to get is the simulator. Now the simulator is what makes this whole thing run. Okay, you have the infrared sensors, and they do a pretty good job. The only thing is, if you have much shadow over them, you're probably going to have a hard time getting reliable shot data. Now this is a thicker one I bought. It actually comes with this thinner one. I suggest getting this thicker one just to protect the sensors. You can see how thin this is in comparison. If you swing and you take too much of the ground, you're probably going to hit those sensors, and I have no idea if you're going to get reimbursed for those at all. The next thing it comes with is the cord. The cord plugs into your computer. So I think you can buy separate ones of these, but it works perfectly. You get a couple of tees and tee stands, and you get one ball. This is a wiffle ball. I already broke my one ball that they gave me. It comes with a foam ball. Doesn't work that well. Last thing you need to know is on the bottom of this, I'm not going to show you because I don't really want my number out there, but on the bottom of this, it has a product number. What you do is you take that product number and go to their website, and then you download what it tells you to download. You follow the steps, and you will now have access to all 15 courses and Optishot's driving range. You can also purchase more courses on their website as well. I think they're about $30 American. And yeah, this whole system runs you about $550 Canadian. It's a pretty good deal. For me, one of the biggest reasons why I chose the Optishot over any other golf simulator was first, price. Of course, it is a lower price point, and it allows you to do pretty much everything that a $60,000 simulator allows you to do, but without the added costs. But the main reason I did the Optishot was because it allowed me to use a foam or a wiffle ball instead of a real ball. Now, for the Optishot, you have 3 choices of ball type. The first choice is, of course, a real ball. Now, if you want legitimate practice and you have the money, I highly suggest using a real ball. Real ball is going to give you that actual game feel, actual game improvement, and everything that comes with actually hitting a real ball. The only issue with a real ball is you definitely need more space. If you have a smaller space, you have to be very certain that you're not going to crash into any windows, any pipes in your basement. So you got to just be really careful with that. With me only having 9-foot ceilings and only having a certain distance of width and depth, I decided that there's no point in spending the extra money on adding netting, adding an impact screen. So I just went with the plain screen so that I could use a wiffle ball or a foam ball. The second option you have is using a foam ball or a wiffle ball. Optishot comes with one or two, I can't remember, I think it's one foam ball, but I found the foam balls were pretty pathetic. If you use the foam ball more than 3 times, it splits in half. So I definitely highly recommend a wiffle ball, and I haven't gone through a single one. I don't even think I have a crack in one, and I bought 24 and I haven't wasted any of them. The only thing about the wiffle ball is it will bounce back a little bit more than a foam ball, but it's not a big deal because it's pretty soft. The third option is no ball at all. Now this option is actually kind of interesting. A lot of you will think, well, why would you ever use no ball? Now, my thoughts on it are, it's great for practice swings. You can see if your alignment is right. It's also really good for if you have younger kids that want to try it out and you don't really want them to wreck the sensors because they cost a lot of money. You can use no ball. Or if you have someone using a real ball and you also have someone that has never really played golf before, maybe you put them on the no ball or the wiffle ball situation. The biggest reason why I chose the wiffle ball setup over a real ball setup was the cost. So for me, I did a video earlier, you can check out the link below. It's about a cheap setup for a golf simulator. But the setup I chose cost me about $1,500 all in, and it could cost you less than $1,000 if you didn't want to buy the stuff for standing on and whatnot. But if you want to purchase a real ball setup, you need to have an impact screen or a heavy duty tarp, and that can cost you between $300 and $500 to get one of those screens. You also need to purchase all the netting, because you're not going to want to hit a golf ball in your basement without having netting at the top and the sides so that the ball doesn't come rocketing off and hitting any of your pipes and windows and whatnot. So real ball obviously is the way to go if you have the space and you have the money, but using wiffle ball, honestly, it works pretty amazing. So don't balk at the idea of only hitting a wiffle ball or foam ball. Once you've done your setup, once you've done your initial setup of the Optishot, you've downloaded the software, you've got the courses on your computer, you'll find yourself on the home screen. Now, the home screen has the login, your sign up, your play and practice, and exit. It's pretty simple. Okay, but what I would suggest doing right away is going into play practice after logging into your account. Now, it asks you to create a login because when you're logged in, you can either play in tournaments and or peer-to-peer games to play against people that have an Optishot as well. You can either click on play and practice or closest to the pin. If you choose tournaments and you don't have a pro plan, you can play in the amateur tournaments. So I believe there's 1 or 2 a month of amateur tournaments. It gives you a course. You're able to play at that course during that month, but then it takes it away if you're on the amateur tour. I personally haven't played any tournaments because I'm not sure if Optishot allows for par 3 tournaments or not. I've never really bothered to look into it because I'm a bogey golfer, I'm not that good. So don't feel like you have to play the tournaments, but you can go and purchase the pro tournament tour and get all of the courses that they offer. I've also never played peer-to-peer games, but that's because I don't have anyone with the space set up like me, so no one has the Optishot just like me. If I ever get someone with the Optishot and they want to play peer games, awesome. I would love to play against someone. But again, I only have a par 3 setup, so hopefully they're in the same boat. Next thing is closest to the pin. This is kind of fun. You can play against other people, or you can play against yourself and have a bunch of different golfers on there and play closest to the pin. It's a fun little game. And then last but not least, we have the play and practice one. So once you click into there, you get these different links that you can click onto. So play a game, practice, back if you don't want to do this. And you also have the managed players and your saved games. So if you click out of a game, you have that saved game and you can go back and play that. When you go into play a game, you get this game set up. You can go full round or 9 holes or whatever. They have a little bit of a difference here. There's your 15 courses. The ones with the green mean you don't own them. The ones without the green mean you do own them. So if you scroll through there, you'll find more. I have the setup at the bottom with my people that I'm playing with. And then you have your settings and options, your play, and your back. If you click on settings and options, you'll be taken to a screen with all sorts of things. So the settings screen allows you to change all the little information that you want. I have it on the ball's view of the ball flight, so that you can actually see where the ball lands, versus the player's view. You just see from the player's point of view, so the player's vantage point. I have it set so it shows briefly after each shot for the shot data, and you can have it always show if you want, because it's not really in your way other than seeing the picture on the screen. But if you have it always show, you can see all your shot data at all times. The next thing you have is the graphics and video. I just have it as my desktop resolution, and my screen is a 16:9, so I have to make it that. And then you go over and you get to the game rules. The game rules, I always have it on auto putt. I find the putting is a little finicky sometimes. It's really hard to judge in any golf simulator, let alone just the Optishot. In any golf simulator, it's kind of hard to judge how far a 10-foot versus a 20-foot versus a 30-foot putt is. So I put it as a 10-foot gimme range just because I don't want it to take forever. Last thing you have is the environment and the physics. So it has the green speeds. I just leave it as medium, fairway speed medium as well. You can change that up. I don't know if that would make a difference in the putting or not, but it might make it a little more tricky or a little easier, who knows. Penalties, you have the shot distance, penalties, light rough, bunkers. I left it at moderate. You can change all that if you want. I find light rough and rough on moderate don't really do anything. You get pretty much the same distance. But as a bogey golfer who doesn't have much spin and ability to control my ball flight, I don't really care if my rough and light rough aren't too hard. Bunkers sometimes are hard. I find it's touch and go. You never have the same golf shot every single time out of the bunker. I'm not very good at bunkers in general, so that doesn't surprise me that hitting out of here is any different for me. And then on the weather side of things, I just leave it pretty much clear sailing, clear skies. If you go into the practice settings instead of the play a game settings, you'll get to pretty much the same thing. You can click on all of the different courses and actually pick them and practice at them versus playing a game. So you can go in and practice any of these courses and pick a specific spot on that course and just keep hitting shots over and over again from that spot. So if you want to practice your pitching wedge and you can hit a pitching wedge 140 yards, go drop the ball at 140 yards and hit that pitching wedge as many times as you want. I really like this feature because sometimes it's not as fun just to sit and play on a driving range, so you can go in and change your location on a hole and work on different shots that way. The driving range is good. It allows you to see your pull or your hook and your slice, or your fade and your draw. Mine is a hook and a slice, but I don't tend to use the driving range as much as clicking on the individual holes. Now, the next thing is managing your players. So a big thing about Optishot is you can create a bunch of different players and set up their golf clubs and all that jazz. So if you click on new player and create a player, you can see I have the basement golfer, my wife Emily, and another one of myself, J-Man, and then it comes with the Optishot player already. Now, once you've created your player, you can go in and actually edit that and change some stuff about them. So if you go into the edit button, you get all this information. You can change their names. You can change the tee boxes, their shot type, their club set. The big thing for me is club set. So on the Optishot, you get the ones that are muscle back players, game improvement, hybrid irons. You can click through those and see which one works best. I chose to edit my own club settings. So I went in and made a tailor-made settings because that's what I have. I have tailor-made clubs and I wanted to make it as realistic as possible. When I made it, the first thing I noticed was, wow, I hook the ball almost every time. And I got a little discouraged and thought, oh crap, is this system broken? I never hook the ball, I always slice. So I was a little worried and tried a bunch of different things, like changing the light settings, changing where the thing was positioned, just changed a whole bunch of things just to make sure. But then I realized that my calibration was off. So Optishot allows you to do different types of calibration. You can either choose the calibration setup where you take your club, you swing your head over the sensor, the club head over the sensor, 5 times in a neutral club face, 5 times with an open club face, and 5 times with a closed club face, and then it'll give you accurate data from that. Now, I personally found this didn't work whatsoever for me. I was always drawing still. So what I did is I went into the settings and I changed my individual club offsets. So when I went and first created my clubs, I actually put the real specifications from TaylorMade into there, but I found that didn't work. So I had to change the club offsets quite a bit. I'll bring up the pitching wedge here and you can see the club offsets I have. The TaylorMade club offset was like minus 0.01 something, and that's now at, I believe, minus 0.4. So it's a big difference. This allowed my ball to go a little straighter. Now I wanted it actually to slice or fade a little bit, but I didn't really want to mess with it too much, because if you swing just improperly, then it goes crazy far right, and I didn't really want to do that. But all in all, once you've fiddled with it enough and get your specifications, it did end up working really well. The last thing you can do in that edit player settings is change people from different tee boxes. So you have the option of being in a front, middle, back, or par 3 tee box. I choose par 3 because, again, I only have 9-foot ceilings and cannot hit driver and any of those long clubs. So I always choose par 3. Now, if you have multiple players and you have a smaller person who could use a driver or could use something a bit longer or wants to hit from further back, you can have them hit from the back, front, middle tees while you play from the par 3 tees. Or on the opposite end of that, if you're a really, really strong golfer and someone you're playing with isn't, you can put them on the par 3 tees and have yourself be on the back tees, which is pretty nice. So right now I'm just on the driving range, and I'm going to show you what stats the Optishot shows you and what it gives you. So the Optishot actually does a really good job at predicting your club face using the sensors and stuff like that. But in the top left corner, you will see the stats that come up. So I'll try and do a decent swing here with my pitching wedge and show you the stats that it gives you. So you can see up in the corner, it's going to go away in a second, but I'm going to bring it up as a full image. You can see all the stats that it gives you. That wasn't a bad shot, not going to lie. So yeah, I'll bring the stats up here. So as you can see, it was 81 miles per hour for my club speed. So that's not bad. It's not quite what the pros do though, but 81 miles per hour isn't too bad. Face angle, 1.8% closed. Now you can see that if you look back at the little video, you can see that it went a little bit of a fade, and that's because my swing path was outside in. The distance hit was 144 yards, 9 feet. My tempo was 0.8 seconds. You're supposed to have that around 1 if you can. And my face contact was in the center. So all in all, it does show you quite a bit about your swing, which is nice. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't allow you to pick any club you want and hit it, and it'll track the loft of that club. So it doesn't track your loft. So you have to actually specifically pick which club you are about to hit, unlike some other ones that will track the loft. That's the only fault you have with it, but it's $550, so you can't really complain about that. All in all, I would give the Optishot about a 9 out of 10. The reason I didn't give 10 out of 10 is because I think the putting's a little difficult, but that's a pretty darn good rating. The big keys are, it's cheap, $550 Canadian. That's awesome. That's like almost $2,000 less than its nearest competitor. It allows you to customize your space. You can set up in almost 8-foot ceilings if you want, but you can set up in 9-foot ceilings to however high you want. And the last thing is you can play with a foam ball or a wiffle ball and be perfectly happy. So when you guys decide to go buy your Optishot, call me, send me a message so I can play peer-to-peer games with you. Okay? Have a good day. See you later, bogey golfers. I'm going to start playing now too.